Hey everyone, welcome to Vortex Garage. You know, 2018 is wrapping up and we've got a new year upon us. Well, with 2019 rapidly approaching, I figured the best way to kick things off is to A, get a video uploaded, and B, make that video about something you all have been asking about. And that's this, our Triumph Spitfire restoration project. Another thing, I decree here and now that 2019 is going to be the year for this project. Does that mean we're going to finish it? Hopefully, but you know, come on, this is car restoration. I don't want to make any strange promises here. But I do want to say here and now that we are going to really focus on this project in 2019. In fact, that's why we have an update on this project, is we've actually really started in earnest on the big time metal repair on this body. Now I know 2018 didn't really pan out for this project for a couple reasons. Well, first off, we got a little bit distracted by a Fox body Mustang, and come on, who can blame us? It's a Fox body Mustang. It's an 82 GT. And you can go check out the videos that we posted where we did the work on that. Well, I've kind of decided this year I'll do some maintenance on that. I'll do some small things here and there. But in terms of major upgrades and work on that, gonna wait. This is next in line. This is the priority. Another reason that things didn't really go so quickly on this in 2018 was, well, we had to add a few tools to our arsenal to really dig into some of the metal work here. But probably the biggest thing was more mental in my head. It was really that initial leap of getting started. And that's exactly what we've done. You know, some of the work here is a little bit of uncharted territory for me. Now, I've done body work, I've done a ton of mechanical work and things like that, but in my realm of the automotive hobby, I've not really had the opportunity to do full-scale, big-time panel replacement. You know, drilling out spot welds and being careful of how this puzzle's put together, not damaging the good stuff underneath that's not reproduced, being able to deal with fabrication and new parts and things like that. You know, I've done it in a small scale, but this to me is like, it's a big leap, it's a bigger scale. Well, part of it is just kind of making that leap and jumping in, and well, that's what we did, and we're gonna sort of catch you up. So what I'll probably do too, I didn't have the cameras running on the work I've done thus far, but I'll try to have cameras going as I do work, keep you updated, because honestly, you're gonna see me learning how to do a lot of this stuff. You're gonna see me ruin some stuff. You're gonna see me damage some things and have to repair it. I think that's really just part of the learning process. But I'll catch you up, we'll grab a camera and we'll show you where we are. So far, everything's pretty good. We just had our air compressor kick in, which kind of messed with my train of thought, but getting us back on track. Obviously, when it comes to metal work on this body, we've got a long road ahead of us. And one of the reasons is that although it looks pretty nice, well, we've got a lot of things that need to be fixed. We've got rusty floors, we've got bad rocker panels, we've got dents in the quarter panels. Heck, even our battery tray was completely rusted out. Well, the battery tray served to be a great place for us to get started. Again, going from the fact that I've done small bits of body work and metal work in the past to kind of ramp up to some of the bigger puzzle pieces that we're going to have to do later on, this was an excellent place to start. One reason is you're going to find with the battery tray and the Spitfire a phenomenon you're going to see with a lot of cars spot welded together. That's multiple panels that are sandwiched together and then spot welded. And a lot of times you need to replace one of those panels and not damage the others. So what you end up with is a strange kind of oxymoron where you're cutting and hammering on metal that needs to be replaced, but at the same time you have to be absolutely gentle and have finesse to not damage the good stuff underneath or even above it. Here's a good example. This is one of the support brackets that goes right here, and this piece is not reproduced. So we didn't want to damage this. If we completely damaged it, not a huge deal. We could easily remake this. This is a fairly easy part to fabricate, just a couple of bends and a brake, and then a hammer die right here if you want to mimic the factory. And looks like it's got a nut that would be kind of spot welded on. So not too bad if we had to remake it, but again, part of the practice is to make sure that we can remove this piece, not damage it, remove our battery tray, and not drill through the spot welds and get into the piece underneath. So here is our old battery tray. As you can see, we've got it removed. We've done a lot of drilling of the spot welds to get them out. And again, good practice. This really kind of taught me as I went along, how far do we need to drill down to release the spot weld, not drill into the panel below. You know, obviously there was going really slow and checking my work, and once or twice we went a little bit too far. But for the most part, after a couple of them, I started to get the feel for it and was able to knock these out and get the drill through without damaging the piece underneath. So all in all, pretty good. So as you can see, we got that piece removed. We got our new one in. We put holes in it with our flanging tool, which is on the other table. It's a pretty cool tool. You can see it on my Instagram. I've got a picture of it in work, but it basically punches holes in it for making spot welds. We went ahead and did the spot welds all around here, ground them down smooth, and primed over it with some weld-through primer. And this piece is looking pretty good. As you can tell, we've still got some work to do. We've got to put our supports back on. One of those supports is a little gnarly. We got a bend in it. We got one on this side too. This is actually from when we lifted the body off the chassis. I used a ratchet strap onto the engine crane and didn't really notice that the ratchet straps were putting pressure on these and actually bent them. So we're gonna have to repair those, not a huge deal. And also we got a little bit of rust damage on this one, which will be, again, good practice. Can I cut this piece out, get a new piece welded in? I actually did that on the battery tray. Underneath it, the rust, as you can tell, you know, even though this is nice and it's been sandblasted and coated, anything that was sandwiched together still has some surface rust in it. So as we remove pieces, it's an opportunity to clean that metal up, to get all the rust gone. And in this particular case, right along this edge, it was pretty chewed up. I ended up cutting out about a 1/2 inch wide strip, about this long, put a new piece of 18 gauge in, welded it, ground it down, looked really good. Went ahead and put this in. Now, I got some pictures. I'll get them on the video, get them off my phone. Again, didn't have the cameras going, but I'll show you some pictures of when we went and did this. So got the weld-through primer. We will repair the supports and get those welded on, and we'll get those hooked up. So again, this was kind of our jumping off point. Let me grab the other camera. Let's go to the other side. We'll show you what we started working on over here. All right, so as you can see here, our next stage is going to be doing something a little larger. We're going to start removing the entire rocker panel. And one of the reasons we're going to do that is we've got a little bit of damage in here. Our floors are completely gone. So I'm pretty much going to start on this side. We've got our body braced really well, and we're going to start removing pieces of this larger puzzle. So like I said, ramping up pretty quickly. Went from a battery tray that's pretty darn easy to do to doing a really big piece of the puzzle here. But honestly, this is the bulk of what needs to be replaced on this car is rockers, floors, and then we just got some dents in the panels here and some real small repair. So if we can get moving on this, we're going to make some good headway. Well, I already found a few things. First off, you can see I've started, let me use this camera a little bit here. I've started to remove this piece right here because this actually covers some of the spot welds and areas of our rocker. So in order to get the rocker off, I need to remove this piece. Now this piece is reproduced. It's strangely fairly expensive for the size that it is. So I did my best to remove this and not damage it. But as you can tell, there's a couple of oddities with how this is in. First of all, on the seams of our rocker, you can see they've actually put welds, not just spot welds, but they've welded the seams a little here. So getting a cutoff wheel to cut into the seam here and not damage this piece too much or cut through our rocker to the inner piece here, some of which we'll be saving. I had to be very careful of how I did that. Ended up using a Dremel on this piece, and then same up here. Didn't do the greatest job up here, but this is repairable. We kind of got that one cut with a Dremel too. Also, funny to look at this car just in general. I highlighted a few of the build quality issues. I mean, if you just look here about that, let's come around this side and show you. I mean, just look at this here. This is, as far as I know, undamaged original work. You know, just in terms of how the stamping dies would go and how everything was kind of welded on. Fair bit of it probably by hand. You know, this just shows you what you're working with. But anyway, I did get this piece removed, and this is going to just sort of highlight to you what's behind the panels. Literally haven't touched this, just got it off. You can kind of see where I'm still learning and practicing with the drill. This is pretty good. Didn't really dig into that lower panel too much. Doesn't really matter, right? On this one, I just drilled all the way through because it was easier, because I'm replacing the rocker. So it didn't matter. This was only the rocker panel here. But hey, practice is practice. So I did practice as best I could to try to save some of the pieces like this here. I'm gonna have to do a little weld repair there. Not too bad, not a big deal. But the big thing is, check that out as we try to get that lit up. All right, let me move this out of the way. I'll take the flashlight off. Sort of show you in there a little bit. Sorry, trying to see. You can just see all the gunk in there, so we're gonna go ahead and get that cleaned out. and then do what we can to clean up everything in there and coat it. Of course, it'll be a lot easier once we remove the rocker. Basically, everything on the left is rocker panel. Everything on the right is the inner piece of the body structure, which we'll be able to go ahead and clean up. So now that we've got this little piece out of the way, let me show you our new rocker panel. So here's our new piece, which will basically kind of fit like that. And what I've decided to do is, a lot of times when you're doing work like this, you have that decision point of, well, obviously I've got a dent here, I've got rust. Could I just cut this section out? Could I leave this, which is pretty clean, and there's a lot of spot welds and nasty stuff that we showed you up there, just in terms of how it's bolted or welded together. Do we leave that, and then do we just cut out this section and repair that? I mean, that's an option that some people would do, but I have this piece, and it's pretty darn nice, and be able to go ahead and replace the whole thing, I think would definitely be a nice thing to do. Another interesting piece, we showed you this kind of weld here. Well, this is an original stamping using the original tooling, and you can see where it's kind of cut here, and that's why that would be welded up here from the factory. So it's actually neat to see, some of the replacement panels, especially if they're made from original tooling. You start to understand a little bit about how the car was put together. I know I haven't gotten that far into it, but still, there's little things that I'm starting to see, and it is neat to see how all this puzzle comes together, like this little piece that we took off, which sort of covers it, and then you see how a little bit better about how this will fit on. So let me move this out of the way. We've also got the inner rocker supports, and then let me grab my camera. All right, so coming along here, the inner piece here is not too bad. We're going to see how that is and hopefully be able to salvage it. This piece right here looks like we might be able to repair it. This will have to come off, and then we've got full floor replacement that we're going to do. But as you can see, this goes back to the whole sandwiching thing, that if we are replacing the rocker, we don't really care about cutting this piece and getting it off because we've got a replacement. This piece right here, we don't have a replacement, though we can buy one, so we did our best to try to preserve it and see if we can reuse it. We'll make a decision later on. The pieces behind it, we're not planning to replace unless we need to, so we're going to do our best to preserve those. This inner sill piece here, if it's in good shape, we're going to try to retain it as well with this piece here. So as we're drilling through these welds, we have to be careful, just do the one layer, get them off. It really just boils down to take your time, go smoothly, go quietly, go smooth and quiet. It really just boils down to, again, having that finesse, but at the same time, realizing that you're cutting and wrenching away old metal off the body here. So, well, that's kind of where we're at. So as you can tell, I don't have a script, just sort of talking as I go along, but essentially that's sort of where we're at, which is figuring out how this puzzle's put together, doing some of the drilling of these spot welds, and being careful of what we cut into because we might want to keep some of it. So the other thing is you look at this and it's like there's a lot of spot welds to drill out. I mean, they're every inch just about. So there's probably about 60 or so spot welds that have to be removed just for this rocker. And then we got to figure out how the rest of this puzzle's put together. So we're going to take our time. We're going to go slow. I'm going to do bits and pieces at a time. Going to try to see how the puzzle's put together, not damage anything. And if we do, fabricate what we need to. If we need to buy a replacement panel that we can get, that's an option we can look into. But slowly but surely, we're going to start getting this cut up and put back together. So like I said, we'll get the cameras going. We'll show you some of the work that we do and show you as I get my practice better on this and as I learn how this puzzle is, you'll get to see some of that. So again, as you can tell, I got no script today. Just wanted to get a quick video shot to kind of give you an update. That's really all we have to show is we've sort of just started on the metal work here. Literally spent a good number of hours just on the battery tray. So there is a lot of time involved in doing this. We're going to be careful. Like I said, I'll grab the cameras and show you. I guess the only other thing I can talk about, I don't know if you all have seen the rotisserie that we put the body on. This was something that I got in 2018. We got the body moved over to it. Again, this is another reason that the project sort of slowed in 2018 was I did invest in a few tools, one of them being this. Now these are great. I mean, you can get these nowadays. They're made in China. This is a Titan brand. They're under $1,000 nowadays for a rotisserie delivered. And this is the kind of thing where if you use it for your project and you want to turn around and sell it when you're done, you can pretty much recoup all of your cost on it. Tools like this don't really lose any value. But we want to be able to use something like this for other projects in the future. So this was an investment I was ready to make, something that we'll keep and have for a long time. And again, so to make it easier, I knew I was getting into this large scale panel replacement. I wanted to be able to flip it and move the car. In fact, let's show you. I did add my own kind of custom bracket back here to brace it. And let's see. Okay, we got this ready. I'll go ahead and roll it a little bit, just sort of show you. It rolls fairly easy. All right, so I'll just roll it one more. So as you can see now, I can kind of come in when it comes time to do these spot welds. They're right here for me to see. When it comes to doing the floor, I'll have a lot more access. Now you can jack these up, so you can raise it up, so you can actually rotate it 360 degrees, so you can change the height. You can rotate it any direction. It's got a lot of locking points. So yeah, that's our rotisserie. And I think in an older video I had talked about wanting to build one. That was what I was going to do. I was going to get a couple engine stands and some steel from the steel yard. There's people on the internet that have done that. There's plans and whatnot. But I got to tell you, I priced out what it would take to do that. The materials, the engine stands, big heavy duty casters, the hardware, all that stuff. And what I found was that this particular rotisserie was essentially the same price delivered as the materials would have been to build one. So it was kind of a no-brainer to buy one. And honestly, I'm glad that I did, because a lot of the designs you see, they don't incorporate the lift rams. They don't have as much adjustability. They're a lot more rudimentary. And I got to tell you, this thing has a lot of adjustment. It's engineered well. The engineering's done. I didn't have to engineer something and build it. I got it, put it together in like an hour. 2 hours later, the car was mounted on it. And I was able to focus more on the work. So for me, buying this was a better idea for my particular scenario than building one. And the other thing too, like I said, if I decide at the end of this project I'm not going to need it again, I could turn around and sell it and recoup pretty much all of my costs by selling it locally. But more than likely, this is the first of many restorations we're going to be doing. So hopefully this is a good tool investment that'll be a fixture in our shop going forward. All right, so that's pretty much all we got for you today. A little bit of an update. We'll try to get you more as we go along here. We'll try to get the cameras out and actually record as we're doing it. But thank you for joining us. Everyone have a great start to your 2019. Have a happy new year, and we'll catch up soon with more on our project Triumph Spitfire.